Well, May 29 is around the corner, and a lot of Nigerians are focused on the Election Petition Tribunal. My name is Moses Humphrey. Joining me on the show is Esther Nwachukwu, and today we'll be turning our focus to the Presidential Election Tribunal's rejection of the live coverage of its proceedings. Plus, 1 year after its takeoff, the ENaira is either being avoided or many are yet to know the first thing about it. Now, what could be worse? More than 98% of wallets are unused. Well, we'll have a detailed conversation on these issues and invite you to join us by liking and subscribing to our pages on YouTube and on Instagram as well. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. That is Voice of the People TV. And on Instagram, it is voptvlive. In the meantime, let's get on with newspaper headlines as it appears on the cover pages of some newspapers. Now, joining me to do this, I have VOP analyst Cyril Abaku. Good morning to you, Cyril.
Good morning.
Great to have you on the show this morning again.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning.
All right, so let's get on with it. Going straight into the dailies, starting off with the Punch newspaper, we have the banner headline. Dangote Refinery, petrol hits markets July. FG to save 7 trillion naira. This seems like good news. Plant projects exports to 53 African countries. End to toxic fuel supply. Dangote. Buhari says refinery game changer. Emefiele projects 12,000 megawatts power. All right, so that's the banner headline. And I'm sure a lot of other dailies will have that one as their banner headline as well. Now, on top of the nameplate, we have a tribunal rejects live broadcast. Supreme Court decides anti-Tinubu suit Friday. All right. And then when you go further down, underneath the pictorial, there we have a my admin boosted Navy's capacity with 20 ships. Buhari. Operators fault removal of Nama managing director. And also we have a governors-elect protest as outgoing governors shun transition panel. All right. So.
Yes, this is clearly Dangote to the rescue, where government has clearly failed. In the short term, in 8 years, President Buhari as President, Minister of Petroleum, appointing people to the NNPC board, former Minister of Petroleum, former military head of state, could not fix the sector. It's not a very good one. You may be aware that the Dangote Refinery has not even been fully optimized. The work is not yet fully done. But the president, I believe, maybe as part of efforts to give his legacy some, is it makeup or makeover that the women call it now? Some makeover. Decided to speedily or quickly go and inaugurate the facility so that it will go down in the books that he was the one who eventually gave Africa its biggest processing plant. But the good news, which we can't take away from it, is the fact that Mr. Dangote, I thank God for the idea that he conceived to come into this sector. Because for a very long time, government showed us that they didn't have the capacity, the political will, the desire, the drive to positively push for success and well-being of Nigerians through the oil sector. This is a resource that we are unimaginably blessed with. This is a resource that, in Nigerian communities, you just go, sometimes you find that oil has just come out of the ground and it's spilling everywhere. Now, we are the only country in the world that, having been blessed with such amount of oil, we live in poverty. That poverty and oil wealth can live together side by side, can cohabit in the same ecosystem. Russia doesn't do that. Brazil doesn't do that.
One cannot imagine it.
You cannot begin to imagine it. In fact, as the way it should be is that once you have oil in your community or oil in the environment, it is taken for granted that you have God has heard your prayers. God has blessed you for generations to come. But in Nigeria, the story is different because for the better part of the time, we've had wolves and jackals and thieves people who have larceny in their DNA, who came into government and have been feeding fat on our commonwealth. So much so that a state oil company wouldn't have a kobo to remit to the federal government of Nigeria. It's a shame. But I'm glad that with 650,000 barrels per day, this is clearly Africa's biggest refinery, Africa's biggest processing plant. And you know, they'll be taking progress from about 3 continents. And imagine what this will do to Nigeria's profile as a net exporter of petroleum to the world. So I think for that, I would say it again that I thank God that Dangote considered this idea. Now we want to see where the oil thieves are going to go. I really would like to see where the oil thieves are going to go. You know, this man also got involved in the value chain. Tony Lumelu, he was one who, for the first time last year, said, look, 98% of everything we lift from Bonny is stolen. This is not thieves.
It seems like the government has a hand in it.
It's not burglary.
I mean, that's the way it seems.
Such
things cannot happen without top officials of the government being aware.
The example I always give is that if we work in a factory where we are selling, let's even bring it to something very rudimentary, chewing stick, as simple as chewing stick, chewing sticks. If out of 1 million cartons that we produced, 2 went missing, we may assume that somebody came in, stole 2, and ran away because he could only hold 2 cartons, you know, and ran away. Even if 10 went missing, we could. So, but where out of 1 million cartons, what is 10 million means 999,000 cartons are missing. Come on. I will run into the forest looking for thieves. I will arrest my manager. Because the people who have the capacity to load and who have the market to sell are not thieves, are not common thieves. They are not hungry. These are people who have the capacity, the intelligence, the knowledge. Moses, that people, somebody brought a tank that is as big as my village, and came to berth on Nigerian waters. And it will take you, is it a month or 3 months to load? That these people are thieves who came to load and they were going, and Nigerian Navy didn't spot them. It was international waters. And no head ruled. Come on, you must be kidding me.
Let me even take you back to 2015. Sometime in July 2015, Ms. Ohialigbe, who was the spokesperson of NNPC at the time, gave a statement that the refineries, the 4 refineries, will be operational by June, July.
That year,
2015. All of a sudden, there was nothing said about it again. So one would wonder, what are the things that have hindered Nigeria's refineries from working?
Okay, good. First, the thing is this: our refineries are not bad. There's nothing wrong with our refinery. It is Nigerians that are bad. Not the refineries.
Okay.
It is Nigerians who transferred their dysfunction into the refinery in Okreka, in Port Harcourt, in Alesalem, Okreka. They are the ones who transferred their dysfunction into the refinery in Warri, into the one in Kaduna. Where else do we have a refinery? I only know. No, that's one I mentioned.
Okay.
That the one is actually not in Port Harcourt town. It's in a location between Okreka and Alesalem. So you have this problem where these refineries, if I begin to tell you what happened in those refineries, you wouldn't believe it. It's criminal. There are times they brought people who didn't have anything to do with the oil sector. Maybe the person did archaeology and religious studies somewhere, and they bring him and say, be the manager of this refinery. Those sort of things happened. Now, you will be shocked if I told you that there are Nigerians who, if given the opportunity, in a week, in a month, those refineries will come back to life. Please quote me. There are Nigerian mines that, if they were given the opportunity to get those refineries to work, you don't need those billions they are quoting. Those that they are going to borrow $2.1 billion to put in the refineries and make them work, then they'll sell them. How much of that have they even done? It's all lies. I can tell you that if you went to Nigerian universities, there are people who can sit down and
make things
in
work.
a week, between a week and a month, these refineries will come back to life. It is not a matter of the refineries are not bad. They are not bad. It's Nigerians who have transferred their evil and their dysfunction into these places. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Well, that's your summation of it. But anyway, let's move on to the Nation newspaper now. From the Nation newspaper, the banner headline still is the Dangote Refinery. It says, petrol, diesel, others to flow from Dangote Refinery, July. 40% of output from the 650,000 BPD facility for export. That means Nigeria will have 60% to meet its needs. All right. Now, on top of the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, we have Sirica, more heads to roll in aviation agencies. 2.2 billion naira terminal takes off. All right. That's Hadi Sirica, the Minister of Aviation. I'm going to take that one again for emphasis. Because we've been looking at aviation industry for quite some time now, and we know the things going on in there. So it's interesting to hear that the minister should be outgoing, isn't he?
He is on his way out with some days to go.
Well, he's speaking as if he's sure of continuing in power.
The Minister of Aviation, when he's out of office, should be arrested, should be investigated, should be put on trial for the things he has done. List of them. We should investigate what happened to the purported launch of Nigerian Air, the logo launch in London, as well as the purchase of 10 fire trucks with the humongous, unconscionable, with the criminal sum of 12 billion naira. We should investigate those. Are those trucks brand new? Are they the best that are being used in other parts of the world? What was in those trucks that made them cost as much? They're not luxury vehicles.
Of course.
These are firefighting trucks, ordinary trucks. That if we had appealed to the likes of Dangote and Otedola, they could even come to donate to us free of charge. It's true. You could look for donors. I always say that the reason why Nigerians continue you were talking about e-wallet recently. There's a serious trust deficit. Nigerians don't believe in their government.
Anyway, let's continue with the...
No, I know. You donated money to his alumni, to his university, and other donors just said, please, that amount has donated. What are we now? But people, I'm telling you that the day Nigerians find sincere government, they will put hands in their pockets and willingly give the government, including this debt that we have gone to indiscretionally enter into. How much trillions of naira now we are stuck. I can tell you that the day Nigerians see good purposive government, those can be cancelled in a week. But the question is, how can we bank our hopes on leadership that is corrupt, that is incompetent, that is indiscretion, that lacks discretion, that is impulsive, that is boastful? Right.
All right. So I said I was gonna take that headline again. Sirica, more heads to roll in aviation agencies. 2.2 billion naira terminal takes off. Tinubu will support Navy, says Buhari. President reviews assets. President signs Social Investment Agency bill. Others, why Judiciary must resist technical judgments. All right. And also we have a why Tribunal rejected motions on live telecasts. This one is also in the Nation newspaper. And then underneath, right at the bottom there, we have Supreme Court fixes Friday for judgment in PDP's suit against Tinubu Shetima. All right, so those are the headlines that we have from the Nation. Well, I'm pretty sure you've responded already, so let's just get on with another daily. Well, Daily Trust has this same headline. Well, I did say it's going to be all over newspapers because it's Nigeria's new baby.
Yes.
The Dangote Refinery. Dangote Refinery, a game changer. Buhari flags off Lake Chad oil drilling today. Nigeria to be self-sufficient, Dangote, to generate $21 billion, employ over 100,000 youths. African company for Africa by an African entrepreneur, ECOWAS. All right, so on top of that one, experts want Tinubu to insist on synergy among security forces. CBN's stalled intervention disrupts activities at Buhari's alma mater. Stakeholders reject renaming of Aviation Ministry, want return to transportation. All right. All right. So, do we have any more headlines from this paper? That's Daily Trust. Yes, we do. Sudan crisis. Nigerian pilgrims to pay $100 airfare hike. Youths protest in Jos against killings, call for self-defense. El Rufai deposes 2 monarchs. District head. Supreme Court rules on suit seeking Tinubu Shetima's disqualification Friday. All right, so go ahead.
Well, you've given me a handful already.
We could take them bit by bit.
Yeah, sure. The story about the hike in airfares, it was expected. Sudan shares a border with Saudi Arabia, but the question is that airspace has become a no-fly zone, whether they declared it so or not. I mean, nobody in his right mind will say he wants to fly to Saudi Arabia using the Sudanese airspace. It will be an unnecessary risk. So it means that they now have to route their flight through, I think it's Ethiopia or Egypt now, to be able to, and of course they're going to spend more time in the air. It will take them about 5 hours plus. Before now it would have been 3 hours using 3 hours plus using Sudan. But these are one of the dangers of the downsides of war, if really war even had any good side of it. The reality again is that we are not part of the war, we are not fighting the war, but we are paying.
But I think in some instances, government can substitute that. Don't they do that sometimes?
Subsidize or substitute?
Subsidize, I beg your pardon. Subsidize.
Yeah, because I think that first of all, the fact that we even have a Hajj commission, government basically, so I think already government money is on it. Otherwise, both those who go to Jerusalem and those who go to Saudi Arabia, there is no place in the Bible, I'm not sure if there's any place in the Quran that says that your government should be the one to fly you. People like Muslims, the government should take their hands off these pilgrimages because they are not. Nigeria is a secular state. Our constitution is clear that Nigeria is a secular state. We are not for any of the religions. We are secular. So government ideally should have a blind eye when it comes to religious affairs. But hey, you know that Nigerians are very religious people. So to that extent, you cannot, politically speaking, it may not be very wise for a government to say, you know what, I don't give a hoot what you do with it. So government has come in to say, okay, we're going to help you fight. Except some governors, particularly states where these matters like this are taken very seriously, especially in the north. If governors want to step in to help the people, why not? But I do think that government has already put its hand too much into these affairs to perhaps do some more. But if they want to do it, it's entirely up to them. Now
Underreported.
How can we have a government in a country and people are being slaughtered like this? It's unfortunate. You see, even the outrage about this morning, the headlines are not supposed to be about Dangote Refinery, as great as that is. Maybe for the business newspapers they can do that, but for mainstream national dailies, we should be, these killings, for what purpose and why? How can we have the police, navy, DSS, everybody, and yet people are being killed on? That is, they are. One of my bosses said that they are being killed for fun. Nobody seems to be concerned about it. The governor of Plateau State, as far as I see it, does not seem to be doing anything serious about the matter. Okay, the presidency is mum. Everybody is quiet. Shall we continue like this and hope that peace will abound? I sincerely don't think so. You may be aware that as we're discussing this, as of yesterday or 2 days ago, in Plateau State, a similar thing is going on. I hope you know that there was a time when one state was called Benue Plateau State, before they were split. So it's as if there's a deliberate agenda to cut off, to mess, to massacre, to decimate, to dissipate, and to disperse people living in that, the people who own those lands. Note also, when people say that this party in power is a religious party and has a religious agenda and has gone on to appoint a president who is a Muslim and vice president who is a Muslim, let me say this. When you say North Central, you're basically talking about Benue Plateau. Then you add Nasarawa, you add which other state now? You add a couple more, maybe Kogi or Kwara and so on. Are we aware that this is the same? Because basically, if you want to take from when it's a North Central, the face you can't bypass Plateau and Benue. This is the same zone that the APC has now kept out of all the key offices in the land. President, Southwest; Vice President, Northeast; incoming Senate President, South-South; Deputy Senate President, Northwest; incoming Speaker House of Reps, Northwest; incoming Deputy Speaker, Southeast. The North Central is kept out of the equation. There is no single North Central person among the serving security chiefs. This is and we are saying that when you people go into the room to discuss Benue killings and Plateau killings, you cannot speak for the dead. You have to get somebody must be in the room who knows, who understands, who feels it. Don't let me go into more than what I've said.
Let's not go too far because we have other segments to touch on. Well, up next on VOP, well, I must say, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming on the show. Yes. Well, up next on VOP this morning, Election Tribunal rejects request for the live coverage of its proceedings. Not just that, President-elect rejects move to consolidate petitions filed by Labour Party's Peter Obi and the PDP's Atiku Abubakar. Well, let's talk about that when we come back from this break. All right, the Presidential Election Petition Court, PEPC, on Monday, which was yesterday, May 22nd, rejected the application for live broadcast of proceedings on petitions seeking to nullify the outcome of the 2023 presidential election. The five-member panel, led by Haruna Tsammani, dismissed the request as lacking merit. Now, the application was brought before the tribunal by Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Now, they are both challenging the outcome of the February 25 presidential election. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, declared Asiwaju Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, APC, as winner of the election. And in its ruling on the application for live broadcast of proceedings, the tribunal said no regulatory framework or policy direction authorized it to grant such a request. And it held that allowing cameras in the courtroom is a significant judicial policy that the law must support. Additionally, the court observed that the request was not included in any of the petitions it was considering, noting that it was only supported by a sentimental argument that the gesture would help the electorates. Well, the panel held that the petitioners, had not demonstrated how broadcasting the proceedings would help their cause. Former President and PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar was the first to request live coverage of the tribunal's proceedings, and subsequently, Peter Obi of the Labour Party also made the same request, and their lead lawyers, Levi Uzoku, a senior advocate of Nigeria for Mr. Obi, and Chris Uche, SAN, for Atiku, argued that the petitions filed to contest the declaration of Tinubu as the winner of the presidential poll were of enormous rational importance and public interest. So we do have joining us to, wrap our heads around this, help us make sense of some of these issues. We have barristers Eze Eluchie and Olayinka Ola Daniels joining us on the show. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, gentlemen. For having me on board.
All right, two of you together. Now, let me start with Barrister Olayinka Ola Daniels. Now, what do you make of this argument that it's purely sentimental as against what Nigerians need to know? There are arguments that Nigerians need to follow these proceedings as it will help build trust for the judiciary. But here, the judiciary is saying it's a sentimental thing and should not be considered, really.
Well, thank you for the privilege to come up on this topic. First, we must understand that there are rules that is guiding the judiciary. There are laws that is guiding the judiciary. So some things, even before you consider, for instance, you say you want, your prayer is for them to make it public, televise, and whatnot. For judiciary to do that, something must be considered first. The rules have to be looked into first. The laws have to be looked into first, and there should be sort of maybe amendment or sort of legislation on those laws and rules to accommodate such. Having said that, we know that even the one that has not been in the public, that our people use social media, to spread all over the world, and you don't even have facts, or you don't even understand the content or how do I put it now? The understand, you don't understand the concept of the judiciary or what the decision of the court. Like what you have seen in the past. You see a judgment from court, then what you see on social media, what you see on papers are different things entirely. The mind of the court are different from what has been spread all over on on social media. So using this, and we know the situation we are in this country at the moment, we know how this particular case is peculiar to us. We know Nigerians are all waiting to see something different. So
All right.
when
So,
people
okay.
are in court and they put up the camera in court and they are sending out information that are not true, they are sending out information that the judiciary has not related to the public. So that alone, for me, from the one, I was part of the advocates of not making it public, that application will not fly.
Okay. All right then. Let me hold your thoughts. I see that you want to say some more things, but let's come to Barrister Eluche now. Do you agree? Do you agree that having cameras in the courtroom would further propagate false information, as people will spread, make their minds on what the judges are saying, what the petitioners are saying, and make up their own minds as against following hearsay?
Yes, let me take up from where my learned friend, the allusion is. Previously, public space meant having the courts in a public, the court to hold in an open where the public have access. The definition of public with the IT, internet explosion everywhere has extended naturally to also include having it on social media, should be broadcast live. So the constitutional provision for cases to be held in public, the definition of public, having access to, so that everybody in the world, anywhere, can have access. We must be very careful in this country. Our justice system has been too conservative. We are always insisting that every comma must pass through constitutional amendment. Every full stop must pass through constitutional amendment. For goodness, what does public mean? Does public mean a room? Does public mean a room where anybody has access to? And you know that in this kind of matters,
But by broadcast of court proceedings, you say that they were right in not letting the public view of what is going on within the Election Petition Tribunal Court. And you talked about the participation that was involved in the just concluded elections. But if the court has made all of these based on what is not in the Electoral Act, on what is not in the Constitution, is it possible that the judge, like he rightly said, set a mandate based on the judicial policy to do a live broadcast rather than declining completely?
With all due respect, that every trial must be that previously, public meant just having a room where those who are interested in the proceedings. Presidential election must be, it's not really a judicial only. We now have technology.
I do not see the court buying or telling anyone that wants to watch a proceeding not to enter the court, except the court is open to manage the space.
But then
they cannot.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of widespread irregularities during the conduct of the presidential election. Atiku and Mr. Obi, in their separate suits, are urging the court to either declare them president or nullify Mr. Tinubu's victory and order a fresh poll. Now, I'm coming to you, Barrister Eze Eluche. This next question is to you. Apparently, yesterday, whereby the APC and the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, who is now the president-elect, is urging the court not to harmonize 3 pending petitions challenging his victory. Peter Obi is saying that it is either he is declared as the winner of the February 25 election, and Atiku Abubakar is saying either you also declare me the winner of the February 25 elections, otherwise you either nullify the victory of his election and order for a fresh poll. Now, we do know that we have issues already at the Election Petition Tribunal based on the cases already there. Also, something to take note of is the fact that the People's Democratic Party said they have about 100 witnesses to testify against the emergence of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, citing several irregularities across some polling units in the Federation. Also, Peter Obi had said he has 50 witnesses to actually testify in the court that they actually ought to have been the one to win the just concluded the February 25 general elections. With these pending motions, do we think that they have the substantial evidence to prove to the court or the judges at the Election Petition Tribunal that this election that was just concluded there should be a rerun of it?
Well, thank you very much. With regards to the refusal of the fact that the APC is against joinder of these petitions, it's quite unfortunate. The court has about 180 days, the tribunal has 180 days to listen to all these petitions, and one similarity, one commonality of all the petitions is that they are all seeking that, or they are asking the court that the APC candidate did not win election and or is not qualified to even contest. So this will minimize time, save time, since all the petitions are basically asking for the same thing. So in the areas of similarity, the courts can and should join this request by the petitioners. What I was even expecting from the parties is that they should have had preliminary objections. They should have had preliminary applications, such as for the court to urgently address two key issues, because these two key issues will have been: one is the application and then 100 witnesses, 50 witnesses, when pertinent fundamental issues as to the validity of the nomination of the so-called president-elect is still at stake. It's unjust and unfair to Nigerians. The international community is watching, and they'll be making mockery of the Nigerian judicial system. We're not the only common law country that does election petitions. They do the same thing in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, and for goodness sake, within 2-3 weeks after elections, every judicial issue is resolved. All this talk of 1,500 witnesses, where are they coming from? Are you going to bring a witness from each of the polling units? And usually that is because our courts always say, yes, there was irregularity, but you've not proved it substantially impaired on the elections. You don't have to bring from every polling unit. That is why our justice system has to be proactive. We cannot continue to be an embarrassment to the lawyers in Nigeria and to the international judicial process.
All right, Barrister
Yes.
Olayinka Daniels, this next question is for you. Okay, so we have this case at the moment, right? There are actual cases at the Election Petition Tribunal. It's quite an unfortunate scenario because there's a feeling that Nigerians feel that it is important for these cases to be quickly resolved before inauguration. Inauguration is a few days away, right? May 29 is just in a few days. Preparations are already in top gear for it. And some critics believe that the court is taking its time. It's been lackadaisical in its attitude, in its aura to resolve the petition at their table, quickly resolve it, and let Nigerians move on and know what is next. Do you think that the court is being lackadaisical? Do you think they're being so unnecessarily slow in resolving most of the issues pending at the Election Petition Tribunal?
There's a saying that when you are not informed, you will be deformed.
Okay.
The public, majority of the public are not informed. They have allowed sentiment, they have allowed emotions to cover their reasoning. And the Labour Party had come to say we need 7 weeks to do this, to prepare our whatever, to put our house in order. They were expected to do that. This will not happen. No. You know why? Because you don't want to go to court and make fool of yourself and lose your case. You want to establish your case. You want to prove your case. So all the evidence you can lay your hands on, you need it. And that is why Labour Party has said, okay, we need so time to...
February 25. And it took so long up until May, before, and we know that May is the handover date. And, a lot of Nigerians have been clamoring for the parties on their own are trying to get more witnesses and all of that, and that would take 7 weeks for some, longer time for others, which will drag, if care is not taken, drag into the end of the year. But why do you think? Now, let's also join this to the fact that we know that joining suits will facilitate the cases in court. I mean, even if they take time to get their witnesses to court, when the suits are joined, I believe, that would facilitate the case in court. Now, saying no, we will not join suits, wouldn't that drag this even more than it's been dragged already?
Correct an impression. Is it possible? The 7 weeks that the Labour Party has asked for is not to be able to start their case. It is the period they believe will be sufficient for their 50 witnesses to be brought before the court. They've never said that they're not ready, their case is already ready, but it's the time they expect it will take to present their witnesses and evidence before the court. I just want to correct that impression, and I believe also the same time frame will also apply, or even slightly more, since they have more witnesses, will apply to the PDP.
So my colleagues here, let me also just, before I go on the question, let me quickly say this, sir. If you have a case, sir, and your witnesses are not ready, tell me you are not ready, sir. If you don't have your, we know that it's not that they have not started their case. Nobody is disputing that. We know that. No.
Okay, we're not in court, gentlemen. We're not in court. So let's.
Sorry.
Let's
okay. All right. Let's leave that. Let's go back to the question. Now, some of us, from day one, you see, this whole election petition tribunal, whatever, didn't just start. We don't know what happened from 1999 till date. So, well, thankfully that people are aware today, you know, considering what used to happen. And that is why the noise is so massive today. Some of us, we've been an advocate of 30 days before swearing in. Some of us, we've been asking for that. Now look, whatever the tribunal want to do, even all the way to Supreme Court, please do it in 30 days before inauguration, so that we don't come with bad instances in where people, even whether governors, senators, they had been elected. In fact, some they've been sworn in and all that. And the court came, and we still know what happened thereafter, how the court changed, you know, the game. So we've been asking that, look, we need to stop all this. Let us have all this sorted before swearing in. We are advocates of that. Having said that, if that law has not been changed, if that has not been amended in our laws, then there is nothing anybody can do. The court cannot help it.
All right, Barrister Olaika Daniel. So let's look at the scenario. Like I said, these open live broadcasts of events transpired in Kenya. We could see how that actually helped the democratic process. One would think that since Nigeria is at the crux of its democracy, we're trying to level up with our international counterparts who are practicing the system of government, that this would be one of the process through which the Nigerian government would prove that they have elevated themselves, all right, from the old ways, or let me not use the word old ways, from the fixed or stifled way of doing things, and prove to everyone that indeed the judges at the Election Petition Tribunal intend to be as transparent and objective as possible. We saw what transpired at the Oputo panel, the kind of massive participation that Nigerians had in watching all the court proceedings. It's almost like when you're watching a football, why it would have boosted the confidence of Nigerians on the Election Petition Tribunal judges in the right way, not about dramatics or theatrics, but that this would have helped the process and given Nigerians the kind of confidence that they need, that little confidence that they need in our judicial system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Yes, it would have happened, and it would have been the trust of the public, and things would have been better. Absolutely. But then, that cannot be done in perpetual. That cannot be done on sentiment or because we want to meet up with the international world. And so what we should do, irrespective of the laws, irrespective of the rules, irrespective of the guidelines, that is why you go to court, you have civil procedure, you have civil procedure rules that guide the court, that guide the bench and the bar in their proceedings. So you cannot say because you want to do this, then you did not follow due process. Then when it then happens, all of us start coming back to shout, to say, see what they did. No, what we are saying, we want this to happen. Yes, we are asking for it. But what we are asking for is to follow due process. Let us amend all the necessary legislation to accommodate all our requests.
All right,
and I want to believe that the National Assembly, the one coming up, I believe that they will not just go there and drink tea and eat bread, but do what they're supposed to do. Okay. The people that are supposed to write and give them bills to sponsor, let them consider all these things in their bills so that we can have all this being amended and being legislation on it.
Barrister Eze Eluche, one of the spokesperson or media aide of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan wrote a tweet. On that tweet, he said that the Labour Party claims that their mandate was stolen. They claim that they ought to have been the right political party to win this election because they feel that it got a lot of votes. But however, they were like say isolated from participating, and it's taking them 7 weeks to prepare their witnesses. Possibly it means that they're not ready, or did they think that this is a social media call rather than something quite realistic? Are you of that note that the Labour Party seems not to be ready for asking for that period to prepare its witnesses?
Again, I said the issue was not that they are asking for 7 weeks to prepare their witnesses. It is that it will take about 7 weeks for these witnesses and evidence to be passed through, to be brought before the court, to pass through the court because of the court processes. It's already things on ground, and they can easily be marshaled once the court begins. So whoever was tweeting was not properly abreast of the facts. That it will take about 7 weeks to pass for 50 witnesses and the various documents to pass through the court. But having said that, we should be very careful about you see, the problem with Nigeria, particularly when we have the presidential election, this one is the president being sworn in. If we realize that once a president is sworn in on May 29th, he has executive powers over and above all things. Even the tribunal building can be brought down, and under the pretext that they want to build a road through it, or they want to renovate it, and there'll be no more room or no more place for the judges to sit. The parties want to bring in witnesses from abroad. The immigration may frustrate their witnesses because the president who is now sitting does not want them. A lot of times, the moment a litigant in this case is sworn in as president, we can as well forget the entire process.
So does that validate the call? Does that validate the call from some sectors in the polity whereby an interim government has been asked for in order to prevent what you just mentioned?
Yes, it need not be an interim government. When we call names, we begin to have, the question will not rise. Is it in the constitution? What is the constitution is that the tribunal can give orders that must be respected. If, for instance, the tribunal says, let me give an example, that, okay, since we're not able to finish these procedures, in the interim, let the Chief Justice of the Federation be in charge of the executive arm in the interim until the matters are finished. It solves it. It's not an interim government. It's just a court order that is being obeyed. Let us have it clear. Because when you now say interim government, you hear people now begin to say, where is it in the constitution? Because Nigerians want to see every comma and full stop in the constitution. But what a constitution provides is that there is a tribunal, and the tribunals can give orders. If in its wisdom, the tribunal says, let's be in charge. Because let me assure you, and Nigerians have to know this, the moment a person is sworn in as president and he has control of the EFCC, of the NDLA, I wouldn't be surprised if the tribunal judges suddenly begin to have millions of naira in their wardrobes and then the system gets corrupted.
All right.
So the
So,
fact that they won the tribunal justice has refused Nigerians access their televised broadcast, and if this thing continues and the president is sworn in, we might all forget it. And that is what will breed these schisms in the society, particularly in this particular election, that the process has been so much proved not to have been smooth and fair.
all right. I must say a very big thank you to you, learned gentlemen. Big thanks to legal practitioners, Olayinka Oladanels and Eze Eluchie. Thank you for coming on the program. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, up next on VOP this morning, it's been 1 year already since the launch of the ENaira, but it's now clear that many Nigerians barely have a clue as to what it's about. Now, how does it differ from the failed cryptocurrencies or even Ponzi scheme? Oh well, this conversation comes up in a short while. Stay with us. Well, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, says 98.5% of ENaira wallets have not been used even once. Now, it's recently released working paper titled Nigeria's ENaira 1 year after. The Bretton Woods institution took stock of the first year of the ENaira and the first central bank digital currency in Africa. That's what it is, the ENaira. Well, President Muhammad Buhari formally launched the digital currency at the State House in Abuja on October 25, 2021. The IMF said despite the laudable undisrupted operation for the first full year, the CBDC project has not yet moved beyond the initial wave of limited adoption.
Now, the fund said the take-up of the ENaira by households and merchants has been slow. The IMF described the public adoption of the ENaira as disappointingly low due to the levels of wallet downloads and transactions. The fund said as of end of November 2021, the total number of retail ENaira wallets amounted to about 860,000, a figure equivalent to just 0.8% of Nigeria's active bank accounts. On transactions, the IMF said most wallets appear to remain inactive except for a limited window of weeks of activity surge. The institution said the average number of ENaira transactions weekly were carried out only by 1.5% of downloaded wallets. The IMF said network effects suggest the initial low adoption spell would require a coordinated policy drive to break it.
Well, we have joining us virtually financial experts Dayo Adewale. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, Dayo. Now let's help us make sense of the ENaira, blockchain, cryptocurrencies. Let's make sense of it all before we go into the nitty-gritty of things. What are these things really?
Oh, okay. These are digital currencies. And I know we believe the ENaira to actually be the same as the blockchain, but while there are a lot of similarities, we have some differences. A good example is the fact that the ENaira is actually the liability of the central bank. It's backed up by this of a nation, one country, unlike the blockchain and the crypto that are not. So the ENaira in Nigeria is backed up by the Central Bank of Nigeria and is the liability of the Nigerian government. So that's the little difference between them. But the blockchain, the cryptocurrencies, all these digital currencies that you can use their legal tender in some countries, you can use them for virtually everything. They're like money. Or instead of you having cash in your wallet, then you have these digital currencies. They have their benefits and they also have their, of course, their ups and downs. But countries, they are legal tender, but in Nigeria, we only have the ENaira.
All right.
Similar feature backed up by the CBN.
All right. Is it possible that possibly some Nigerians do not know how to use it, or possibly they're not properly oriented, or they don't trust the ENaira, especially from the CBN? So is there a possibility of that?
Oh, yes, there's a possibility of that. However, I would say when the ENaira was launched, there was this, everybody was happy about it. They had acceptance at first, but after a while, when testing it and it wasn't working for them, at the end of the day, people stopped using. But I think they became better, and they had already lost the trust of some people. It took different steps to get to where we are at the point where it seems nobody wants to use the ENaira. It was the bank. I think the governor of CBN said the banks don't want people to use this ENaira because it's going to affect the commercial bank. The deposits, customer will no longer deposit money with them. But later I saw that even the banks themselves were the ones spearheading this, announcing this, that you can download the ENaira, you can use this.
All right, so if I understand you correctly, are you saying that there was some sort of sabotage initially between commercial banks and the CBN's CBDC? That's what it is, right? CBDC. Mm-hmm. Well, are you saying there was this a sabotage that the banks didn't want people to use it? Is that it, or the fact that people did not trust it enough to want to download and use?
Oh, I would say no, I won't say there was a sabotage, but there was reluctance in the parts of the commercial bank because of the way it will affect them. But never, yes, we still have the trust problem and the approach, because the ENaira is supposed to solve the problem of financial inclusion. Yes. when the ENaira was launched, it was first launched on an Android phone. It was after a few downloads and after a while before the USSD was launched. So at the end of the day, there was already that signal that says this is going to be a digital thing. You do not have an Android, you can't use it. And when it came out, it did not. There was no rush to use this as when the app itself was launched. You see, people with Android were downloading, but when the USSD came, people in the remote areas, they couldn't use it.
Okay, so here is the scenario, right? You know that a lot of Nigerians who are in abroad who want to send various currencies, either euros or pounds or dollars to their family members right here. So there were several applications that allowed that to happen. When the CBN started coming up with policies, these policies were meant to truncate the efforts of those who were, sponsoring terrorism through this means. That's basically what the CBN said. It became very difficult for these applications to be used. Send your dollar here. They may not have issues there, but the problem will be here. And then all of a sudden, this ENaira e-wallet thing came up. And Nigerians were like, could this be the reason why the CBN introduced this policy to truncate these applications that seem to have been working effectively well and most family members could get their money? Do you think that was why there was no participation in downloading that particular e-wallet? Could this be one of the vital reasons for it?
Yes, I believe that was one of the vital reasons for it. The attempt to truncate those activities is just all to monitor the money laundering and the terrorism finance. People who are financing terrorism, those are the reasons the government tried to place restrictions. But I think people got the wrong idea and they were like, okay, because of this ENaira, that was why we now have difficulty sending money home. And if blockchain, cryptocurrencies was banned in Nigeria, so felt that was because of the ENaira, and because of that, some people just didn't want to adopt.
What happened to Western Union? I heard that the process had become difficult, and that's why a lot of people do no longer go through that process.
Yes, it is. The thing is, I think now the federal government actually had a plan, but it didn't work out because the ENaira was supposed to solve all the problems. It was supposed to make it to do remittances in any country. It was supposed to do that and do financial inclusion, be easy for government to trace this, be easy for us to do a lot of things, but unfortunately that did not work out.
Okay, now for the sake of the layman, yes, because I know that we are here having this conversation and we know what Bitcoin is, we know what digital currencies are, but there are people out there, and as you rightly said, it was initially launched on Android, which made it difficult for those in areas where they didn't really have good internet or internet at all to even use, and also made it difficult for those that do not use Android phones to be able to download and operate. It was later on that the USSD came out. But let's break it down. What are digital currencies? ENaira is a digital currency. What are digital currencies? Are you saying that I can transfer money from my account, or maybe I take cash, go somewhere and I say, okay, take this cash, upload the value of this in a device, which I will carry on my phone, being the wallet, the application now being the wallet, carry on my phone, and with that I can push money around without carrying cash on me. I don't know. That's how that's how I would explain it. But I mean, you're in the sector. How would you explain digital currencies and breaking it down for the layman to really understand?
Okay, so I'll say what you have said is correct. Actually, the only difference is that for the ENaira, you have to transfer it from your bank to your wallet. So
Okay.
ENaira is like your wallet, but it's not physical cash. It is your cash but no physical cash. You carry it around in your mobile device, either or your Android phone. So you are very correct. With that, you can do transfer from one. You can do transfer from one ENaira wallet to another Naira wallet, and this is supposed to be free. It's supposed to be faster. It's supposed to be easy to use in any remote area. That was the intention of the ENaira note. It was also supposed to be used for social welfare. So, like this money, we are trying to distribute relief fund to an area, or with the ENaira, all the government need to do is to just credit the e-wallet, and everyone will have the money wherever they are. It will be easier to carry out all this kind of social welfare with that. It's easy, tax and other things. So those are the things that I was supposed to solve. And it's just like you said, it is your money, but electronic money. It's not a physical money, and
Okay,
you can do anything you want with it.
I would say that I have the wallet on my phone. I mean, I downloaded it at some point. I downloaded it, but then when my phone was getting full and I needed space, and
When you say
I
your phone
went
was
through.
getting full, was it the money in your
No, not the applications on my phone.
Okay.
And then I went to my mobile app and then checked and saw that okay, these apps had more MBs,
Okay.
and removing them will create space, and the ENaira was one of them, so I had to remove it. Now, doesn't that make it? Is there? I don't know. Is there? Can they make it smaller,
Like compressing it, right?
compressed up? Could that be a reason why some people don't even have it? I mean, I had it, but I had to take it out, and I wasn't using it.
It was heavy.
To be honest, it was too heavy for my phone.
Sure.
Could that be a reason why some people don't have it?
I doubt many people actually check the.
Well, before you
size of
continue, let's establish that we have John Akerele joining us virtually as well. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Just hold on a bit. Let's continue with Dayo. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I was going to say that yes, I doubt if a lot of actually check the size of the app they downloaded, but say the failure of the ENaira had a lot of issues with them. That might be but the major reason why we have this reluctance in and user acceptance, and it's all because one, it came as an Android. Internet was a challenge. The problem of telecommunication was not solved, so internet was a challenge. So people don't even have power to power this their Android devices, so they couldn't use it. Then where were they supposed to use it? So we didn't have stores. We're supposed to have stores where you go and make purchase, you just scan and you pay. Businesses are supposed to have it, you scan, you pay. Even the normal regular yellow buses are supposed to have where you can use this ENaira. But where do you use them apart from you transferring from one ENaira wallet to another? Not this currencies. I think that was one of the major, and the fact that it came on Android. Many of the people who this is supposed to benefit don't use Android. When the USSD came, it came late and no use.
All right, so John, thank you very much, Daya. And let's go to John now. John Akerele is also an analyst. Thank you very much once again for joining us, John. Now, what do you make of this issue with the ENaira now? They're saying in the first few months of its launch, a lot of downloads were made, but even the downloads that were made are like 0.8% of the banking public. All right. Now, so what do you and then after that, after the first 1 month, it became a drag to even go from 500,000 to 600,000. It took a long time. It was a drag to get more people to buy into the idea. Why do you think that was so?
All right, thank you for having me. I think First thing first, before we move from physical currency into digital currency, we should ask ourselves simple questions. Have we put in all the parameters that will make that smooth running of transitioning from physical cash into digital currency? If we have ticked all the boxes, then we are good to go. But it's really that we are in a country where we are more reactive instead of being proactive. Okay? So if you are saying that the app came in ENaira app, why did they bring ENaira app in the first case? Okay? I think the reason why you have this low turnout in terms of download, usability or usage of the app is the fact that it's an issue between the people and the government. Okay? Now, let me take you aback.
Did you say
before now, there was Bitcoin introduction into our currency circulation system, and most financial institutions felt threatened. Even the federal government felt threatened. Why? These are transactions that cannot be traced. Okay? And so they felt the only way they can, stop this transaction is to come up with their own digital currency, which is ENaira. But they also forget that before you can bring in a cryptocurrency or a kind of ENaira, you must also the acceptability. You must look at ease of doing business with. Then you must look at regions that can be covered. So if you're talking of other cryptocurrencies, now they are acceptable not only in that country where the cryptocurrency originated from. Okay, so if you're looking at the likes of your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Litecoin, they emitted from a particular with time, you see that their acceptance, move across different countries and different regions, different continents. And so that's why you see that the value of such currency gets on the increase. But in the case of Nigeria, saw ENaira more like from an antagonistic perspective. So they didn't really see the good in ENaira, and that's why it was not really accepted. That's one. Two is when you want to develop an app, okay, there's something called the UI UX interface, which the designers must understand that there's a user experience, okay? And before you launch that app, you must have, sat down with your UI UX designers who will give you the user experience and the interface, and then they give feedback to that. I think there was a gap in that, and that's why we have some of the bottlenecks we're having with ENaira download. 3 points. The third point is the fact that where we want to fly, but we do not have runway to even run before the flight. Okay? And what do I mean by that? We created ENaira, for God's sake. The government, as I speak to you now, is the highest employer of labor. So I think the government should start paying salaries to civil servants with ENaira. In that case and manner, I can assure you, you will have over 10 million downloads. I can assure you that. Every state governor is paying salary to all of civil servants in Lagos State and all the state of the federation.
Way to go, but that will be compelling people, compelling people to want to download and use the ENaira. But Nigeria is the first in Africa, yes, but not the only one. The Bahamas was basically the first, from what we've gathered, the first to introduce central bank digital currency. And India has, its own large numbers as well. And one would think that with the population in Nigeria, when the ENaira came on board, Nigerians would just latch onto it and boom, it will be, a breakthrough in technology. But that was not the case. Now, do you think publicity played a role in this? Because initially, I think I saw a few advertorials on it, but afterwards there was nothing. And then it took the commercial banks to even talk about it a bit. But all of a sudden, there has been no talk about it. Maybe that is why there was no increase in download. Or what do you think? John, now, please.
If you spend billions of naira in publicity, Nigerians will still not download the ENaira app. Okay? So is publicity is not the problem.
A breaking communication.
Do you understand? I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Do I have Dayo with me? Dayo Adewale, financial expert.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am here.
Can you hear me?
Hello? Do we have...
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
All right. Go on, John. Go on. Go on, John. I can't hear you. Though.
All right.
Go on.
Okay. So now if we spend billions of naira in publicity and we don't do the needful that we ought to do. Now, part of the needful we must do is the fact that when you are to pay your taxes to state government coffers, you can use ENaira option as payment option. Okay? That will ease your stress of going to the bank to queue. So from your home, from the comfort of your home, you can pay your personal income tax. You can tax easily from your phone without going to any bank to queue. So once people see the usability, or the doing business with this ENaira, they accept it. Nigerians want something that will make life easier and faster for them. All right. So I think when you go to your open market, do the market women even have phone that can have ENaira so that they can accept payment? Talk about your big malls, Just Right, ShopRite, and the likes. Do they also have option that accepts ENaira as a mode of payment? The answer is no. And if these places go to make bulk shoppings and they cannot make payments with ENaira, then where do they want to spend the ENaira? Is it in Danfo? That cannot happen. So the government must be intentional and must be strategic in terms of placing payment options. As a matter of fact, if you are having any toll road, you can pay with your ENaira option. Just scan and you go, scan and go. So if people see that working somewhere else and is working, then the government is the biggest, that's where the political will comes in. If a state governor pays salaries to all employees through ENaira, then you can be sure that the rate of download of ENaira will skyrocket, will go up in less than 2-3 months. And once that start happening, I want to do transactions and I can make payment to you easily with my ENaira. You see that other vendors will also go out to register, download the app, register an account, and then start receiving payments. Another thing they should do on that ENaira app is the fact that ENaira should be able to transfer digital currency to other platforms. What do I mean? It means that I can transfer money from my ENaira wallet to probably a First Bank or a GTB bank. I can also do the same to any wallet, to PalmPay or OPay or which all these fintechs, So once you are able to have cross-border transactions, you are sure that the rate of download and the usability of your app would increase. And that is where people now start absorbing that which you've put before them.
All right, then. Thank you very much, John Akirili. Let me come to Dayo now as we wrap up this part of the show. Dayo, what would your advice be as a financial expert? What would your advice be as regards the usage expert? What would your advice be as regards the usage of ENaira to Nigerians and the government now?
Okay, I like what John was saying about adoption. Government should adopt. I don't think if there's a challenge if the government wants to adopt it, because we woke up one day and without your NIN you can't have one in Nigeria, and it worked. We have OPay, PalmPay, even in the remotest village, you could see those working, which means it can work. It's adoption. The government have to start this first, push this and stand by it, ensure it, just like John have said, start from the government step, start using it. But my challenge is that when it seems as if the government wants
businesses beginning from that day, that's June 1, 2023. Now, it's warned that from June 1, 2023, anyone who wants to deal in petroleum products must obtain a license, stressing that no license would mean no loading of petroleum products. The government gave the warning in Abuja through the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority at a stakeholders' engagement on gas utilization in Nigeria. Now, the objective of the engagement was to enlighten operators on the need to urgently obtain the requisite petroleum storage license and to engender the transition from white products to gas. Another story is that the federal government may save about 35 trillion naira in fiscal expenditure within the next 5 years with the commencement of the operations at the Dangote Refinery and petrochemicals. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, disclosed this yesterday during the ceremony to inaugurate the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemical Facility in Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos. The president, Muhammadu Buhari, who inaugurated the refinery, which is currently the world's largest single-train petroleum refinery, said his administration had been deliberate about ensuring public-private partnerships. He disclosed that the refinery is a milestone for Nigerian economy and a game changer for the downstream petroleum market in the African continent. Now, at the inauguration, which had in attendance senior government officials from Nigeria and other African countries, the President, Buhari, described the refinery as a game changer, just as the founder, chairman, Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, declared that the facility would put an end to the inflow of toxic, substandard petroleum products into Nigeria. All right, so that's it for business. Well, that's it for business. We'll take a little breather now. When we come back, we'll have Kayla join us on the show as she takes us into the...
He's the street guy. His music is represented for the, representing the street.
The grassroots.
Yes, yes, the grassroots, where he comes from and all. He never fails to make mention of that, But now having Thames, and Arya staff from Mavens with, Mavens, Don Jersey's Mavens, I think that's a good combination. But I don't know, Moses, what do you think? Having street and Thames and Arya and that's in one song.
When you say streets, are you talking about ghetto kind of music?
Oh yeah, oh definitely. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Street, like the trenches.
Well, it will be a good infusion.
You think?
Yes, it will be a good infusion. We've had Olamide, who is street.
Oh, tell me about it.
Do something with some other artists.
Yeah.
That are considered bourgeois.
Right.
But it will be a good infusion. Yes, Ira Star.
The Gen Z lady, the Gen Z girl.
And they all Gen Z. They all are. They are all Gen Z. But it's fine.
It's good, right? Yeah.
I'm sure your fans cannot wait to see what they have to offer.
I can't, and I hope it's good. I really hope.
I do believe it will be good.
You believe?
Yes.
I like that. I like the positivity.
I do believe it will be good.
I mean, yeah. So that's, that will be it for entertainment today.
All right, then, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kayla Abraham.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for entertainment. I must say a very big thank you to you for joining the show. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, and drop your comments underneath our post on YouTube and other social media platforms. On YouTube, it is Voice of the People TV. You want to do that one?
Okay, and on social media, it's at voptvlive Live.
There you have it. There you have it. So thank you very much once again. My name is Moses Humphrey. Esther Nwachukwu was also on the show.
Yes.
And she is Kayla Abraham.
Abraham.
Bye for now.